The more you chase them, the less they feel you're worth catching. You call, you text, you wait for the little typing bubble like it's a lifeline. You try harder, you show up more, you lower your boundaries to raise their interest. But instead of getting closer, they distance, they ghost, they give one-word answers, they make you feel like you're the problem for simply wanting connection. Here's the truth. You're not needy, you're just giving too much to someone who's doing too little. And the more you try to prove your worth, the more they start to forget it. But what if? The problem isn't how much you care, but how little you've learned to care for yourself. Because here's what the Stoics knew. Love without self-respect is just a form of self-erasure. You don't need tactics to make them love you. You need truth to stop abandoning yourself for a breadcrumb of attention. This isn't about playing hard to get, it's about learning to be hard to forget. So stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll learn exactly how to shift the power dynamic. Not through manipulation, but through Stoic presence. They won't obsess over you because of how much you gave. They'll miss you because you finally learned to walk away with dignity. This video isn't about tricks, it's about truth, because no matter how many tactics you learn, if you don't change the way you show up, you'll keep chasing people who were never meant to be pursued. So today, we're going deeper. I'll share with you 14 psychological switches that don't just get someone's attention, they awaken their respect, their curiosity, and their desire to come closer. No games, no manipulation, just quiet power, rooted in Stoic wisdom. Each lesson is simple but sharp, designed to make you magnetic by helping you stop begging and start becoming. And at the end, I'll reveal the most overlooked Stoic technique that silently transforms how people feel when they're around you, and how they'll start missing you, even before you walk away. So stay until the last word, because if you've ever felt invisible in the presence of someone you love, that ends today. Meet Jamie. She wasn't loud, she wasn't dramatic, she was the one who remembered birthdays, checked in after long days, made space for people who never once asked, who's making space for her? She thought love meant initiative, that the more present she was, the more she'd be wanted. So she texted first, planned the dates, carried every conversation until her effort felt like desperation. And one night, she sat across from someone who once made her heart race and realized she was more in love with their potential than their presence. That she had been trying to earn something that should have been mutual from the beginning. So she stopped, not with a fight, not with a speech, just silence. And in that silence, she heard something louder than all her efforts combined, her own voice. The voice that whispered, let it go. If they don't meet you halfway, stop walking. Just like Jamie, you might be confusing love with self-neglect, attention with availability. But Stoicism teaches us this. When you detach from needing others to choose you, you finally have room to choose yourself. Lesson 1. Stop showing. Up first and start showing up for yourself. You're the first to text. The one who checks in, the one who adjusts, who apologizes, who initiates. But somewhere in the rhythm of trying, you became the only one dancing. Because the truth is, when you always show up first, you teach them to stop showing up at all. That's not cold, it's psychological. The brain craves contrast, space, desire, a little uncertainty, not because people are cruel, but because attention loses value when it becomes predictable. Think of it like music. If there's no pause, no silence between notes, there's no melody. So here's your Stoic shift. Next time you want to reach out first, pause, breathe, ask, am I initiating out of love or out of fear? that they'll forget me if I don't. Then do this. Wait. Give space. Let the rhythm shift. Let them notice the silence you used to fill. You're not withholding, you're rebalancing. Because the moment you stop showing up first, you start showing up stronger for yourself. Here's your image. You are not a pop-up ad. You're not a reminder on their lock screen. You're a quiet force that's felt most deeply when you're no longer always there. And the real ones, they'll notice. They'll reach back, and if they don't, that's your answer. Lesson 2. Don't overexpose your presence. Let them miss you. Before they forget you, you reply instantly. You share every thought. You update them on everything, from what you had for breakfast to what time you're going to sleep. And at first, it feels connected, close, intimate, but slowly, they respond less, with shorter words, fewer emojis, and one day, nothing. Why? Because when your presence becomes a constant, it stops feeling special. The more you show, the more they scroll. The Stoics warned against excess, even in giving, especially in exposure. Because too much light blinds, too much noise drowns out meaning. So here's your Stoic shift. Instead of constantly sharing, start curating. Let silence do the speaking. Let absence create curiosity. Let them wonder again. Ask yourself, does this need to be said now, or is this moment sacred enough to be kept? Because mystery is not manipulation. It's dignity with boundaries. You don't need to ghost anyone. Just dim your spotlight until they earn another glimpse. Here's the image. You are not an open tab. They leave running in the background. You're the book they'll want to reread because they forgot how powerful your presence feels. Less access, more value. Lesson 3, don't try to convince them you're not a sales pitch, you're a standard. You explain, you justify, you try to make them see you, to see your heart, your loyalty, your worth. You think if they just understood you deeper, they'd stay. They'd change, they'd love you the way you deserve. But here's the truth. Anyone who needs to be convinced to value you will eventually resent you for needing too much. Because the more you explain, the less powerful you feel. And the less powerful you feel, the more they subconsciously disconnect. The Stoics had no interest in persuasion. They mastered presence, clarity, and living with such integrity that anyone who didn't see their worth simply didn't matter. So here's your Stoic shift. Stop explaining, start observing. Let their actions reveal their understanding, their respect, their capacity. Because when someone truly values you, you won't need bullet points or follow-ups or emotional essays, you'll just feel it. So next time you feel the urge to prove, whisper to yourself, the right person won't need convincing. They'll recognize my value by the way I carry it. Here's your image. You're not a street vendor chasing people down the sidewalk. You're the boutique that stays open quietly and attracts those with taste. Presence over pitch. Lesson 4. Stop explaining your standards, set them. Stick to them and walk away if they're not met. You say things like, I just want clear communication, or I need consistency, not chaos. And somehow, that makes you the problem. They call you too much, too rigid, too serious. So you soften your words, loosen your needs, and call it compromise. But deep down, you feel it, the slow erosion of your dignity. Here's the Stoic truth. Every time you explain your standards to someone who doesn't want to hear them, you're negotiating your self-respect. Standards are not rules, they're reflections of your healing, of your growth, of your self-awareness. You didn't set them to push people away. You set them so you'd never lose yourself trying to hold someone else close. So here's your Stoic shift. Instead of defending your needs, Start embodying them. Say less, observe more. Let the people who get it stay, and those who don't, leave, without drama, without chasing, without apology. Ask yourself, is this a conversation, a pattern? If it's a pattern, it's a sign. Here's the image. You are not a restaurant changing the menu for every guest. You are the chef who knows exactly what you serve and is proud of it. Your standards say your identity in action. Live them and let silence speak where explanation used to live. Lesson 5. Don't beg for reassurance. The more you ask, the less they believe. You ask, do you still like me? Are we okay? Is something wrong? You scroll through old messages looking for proof. Replay old calls to hear the warmth you now miss. And when their tone changes, you spiral. Because deep down, you're not looking for answers. You're begging for safety. But here's the Stoic truth. The moment you need constant reassurance is the moment you've lost your center, not because you're weak, but because you've placed your peace in someone else's hands. And they can't even hold their own. The Stoics knew this deeply. True calm doesn't come from what others give. It comes from what you choose to believe about yourself. So here's your Stoic shift. When you feel the urge to ask, pause. Sit with the discomfort. Ask yourself, am I asking this because I don't trust them or because I don't trust myself? Then answer with action. Journal, breathe, walk away if needed. But never beg for clarity from someone who keeps you confused. Here's the image. You are not a flickering candle waiting for someone to cup their hands around you. You are the fire, the sun, the heat source. You don't need confirmation to keep glowing, and those who see your light will never let you question how much you shine. Lesson 6. Stop trying to make them choose. You are not an option in someone else's menu. You wait for them to decide, to text, to call, to make up their mind. You keep the door open, just in case. You stay chill, understanding, available. But inside, it hurts, because deep down, you're hoping silence will turn into interest. That indecision will become love, but it won't, because here's the hard truth. If they wanted to choose you, they would have. The Stoics taught this long ago. A man who delays his decisions delays his life, and anyone who leaves your heart waiting is already telling you where you stand. So here's your Stoic shift. Stop making space for someone who keeps treating you like a maybe. Take back your energy, reclaim your clarity, and remind yourself. If I have to convince someone to pick me, they're already not ready for the version of me that picked myself. Because you are not a backup plan, not a placeholder, not a soft landing for people afraid of flying. Here's the image. You are not a waiting room. You are the next chapter. They'll regret not reading when they realize what they skipped. Don't wait to be chosen. Be the choice you never abandon. Lesson 7. Stop trying to stay in their mind the more you force it. The faster you fade. You leave breadcrumbs, a like here, a story post there. You say something vague just to stay relevant. You hope they'll notice, that they'll respond, that they'll remember you. But the more you try to stay in their thoughts, the less space you actually hold. Here's why. The brain remembers what it feels, not what it's fed. If every move you make is a strategy, it stops being connection and starts becoming control, and what's controlled is rarely cherished. They, Stoics, understood this deeply. To be remembered, you don't echo louder, you walk away cleaner. So here's your Stoic shift. Instead of trying to stay in their mind, start staying present in your own. Live, grow, laugh, disappear. Not to punish, but to preserve your self-respect. Because true impact isn't loud, it's silent, it lingers. It's the kind of presence that haunts in the quiet, because it wasn't desperate to be kept. Here's your image. You are not background music, begging to be heard. You're the pause in the song that makes the listener lean in and feel something shift. When you stop trying to stay, you start being missed. Lesson 8. Don't explain what you meant. Who understands stays, who doesn't was never meant to. You send a message and they misread it, or worse, ignore it. You want to clarify, to explain, to say, that's not what I meant. But here's the truth. If someone truly values you, they won't wait for a perfect sentence to treat you with respect. Because when someone wants to connect, they give you grace. Room, assumption of good intent. But when they don't, every word becomes a trial. Every silence becomes a weapon. The Stoics knew this. You are not responsible for how others distort your clarity. You are only responsible for speaking with integrity. So here's your Stoic shift. Instead of explaining again, observe. Let people reveal themselves by how they handle a moment of confusion, by how quickly they assume the worst instead of asking for the truth. And ask yourself, do I really want connection that only survives if I keep explaining myself? No, you don't want to be decoded. You want to be seen. Here's your image. You are not a paragraph. They can skip and skim. You are a declaration that doesn't need footnotes. Let your clarity speak once and let their response tell you everything. Lesson.
Fine. Stop filling empty silence. If it's quiet, let it be. They stop texting, so you double message. They leave you unread. So you send a meme. Hey, just checking in.
Anything to avoid that void, because silence feels like rejection, like fading, like a threat to your worth. But here's what the Stoics would tell you. It's not the silence that hurts. It's the story you attach to it. You think, they must not care. I must have done something wrong. I need to fix it. So you try harder. You fill the gap. You keep the connection alive, even when it's only you holding the thread. But the more you speak into silence, the more you teach them that you'll always carry both sides. So here's your Stoic shift. When the response fades, let the space grow, not as punishment, but as practice. Ask yourself, can I let things be unresolved without losing my center? That's not cold, that's courage, because real connection doesn't need noise to survive. It can breathe in silence. It can hold stillness without falling apart. Here's your image. You are not an echo begging for sound. You are the mountain that stands still even when no one climbs it. If it's quiet, trust it. If it's empty, let it stay empty until someone brings depth worthy of the space. Lesson 10. Don't offer more. When they give less, you're not a discount for the uninterested. They stop calling, so you call more. They pull back. You lean in. They give less. And somehow, you give more. Why? Because deep down, you believe if you love them enough, they'll change, they'll see, they'll reciprocate, but they won't. Not because you're not enough, but because you're giving from a place of fear, not power. The Stoics would say, don't water what refuses to grow, because love isn't a rescue mission. It's not earned by overcompensating for someone else's underinvestment. So here's your Stoic shift. When they withdraw, don't give more. Give back to yourself. That doesn't mean shutting down. It means showing. But where your love is met, not just tolerated, ask yourself, if I stop chasing, would they even notice I'm gone? Let the answer be your compass. Let their effort match yours, or let the door stay closed. Here's your image. You are not a sale on the shelf of someone's indecision. You are a full-price presence, the kind of soul that doesn't need to shout to be noticed. Less from them does not mean more from you. Let your giving be sacred. not sacrificial. Lesson 11. Don't explain what's obvious. The more you explain it, the less they respect it. You say, "I was hurt by what you did." And they reply, "Oh, I didn't mean it like that." You say, "I need more effort." And they respond, "You're just overthinking." So you clarify, re-explain, try to make them understand. But here's the Stoic truth. If someone keeps missing the point, they're not confused, they're comfortable. Comfortable not changing, comfortable benefiting while you over-explain your basic boundaries. It's not that they don't understand, it's that they don't value what you're asking for, because people know when they're being distant, dismissive, disrespectful. They just hope you'll doubt your standards before they're asked to meet them. So here's your Stoic shift. Say it once, then watch. Let their actions confirm what your intuition already sensed. Ask yourself, am I teaching them to listen or teaching them they don't have to? Here's the image. You are not a manual for how to be treated right. You are a mirror, reflecting what they're willing to give. If they don't see it clearly, stop wiping the glass for them. Explain less, observe more, and when it's obvious, believe it. Lesson 12. Don't apologize for your healing. You don't owe comfort to the people who benefited from your wounds. You say no now, and they say, you've changed. You pull back, and they ask, why are you so cold? You finally speak up, and suddenly you're too much, too sensitive, too distant. But here's the truth. You're not cold, you're clear. You're not rude, you're recovering. Recovering from years of bending backwards so others could feel tall. Recovering from softening your voice so theirs could echo louder. Recovering from keeping the peace while your spirit silently bled. The Stoics believed this. True growth will always threaten those who benefited from your smallness. So here's your Stoic shift. Heal anyway, even if it makes others uncomfortable, even if they miss the old you, the version who said yes too fast, stayed too long, tolerated too much. Ask yourself, do I want to be understood by them or at peace with myself? Because healing is not a group project. It's sacred, personal, and sometimes lonely. But never apologize for becoming harder to manipulate, for demanding consistency, for walking away without announcing it. Here's your image. You are not a wound for others to press into. You are a scar, proof that something tried to break. You are and failed. You are not difficult, you are done. Lesson 13. Don't abandon yourself to keep them interested if you have to shrink to fit. It's not your place. You change your tone to sound easier. You hide your needs to seem chill. You laugh when you're uncomfortable, say, it's okay, when it's not, and pretend to agree, just so they don't walk away. But here's the quiet cost. Each time you hide your truth, you lose a piece of who you truly are. And soon, you're a ghost in your own relationship. Present in body, absent in spirit. The Stoics taught us this. Peace is not found in being accepted by everyone, but in never having to abandon yourself again. Because what's the point of being loved for a version of you that doesn't even exist anymore? So here's your Stoic shift. Stop bending, start returning. To you, reclaim your voice, your timing, your pace, your full presence, and ask yourself, if I have to change my essence to keep them, do I even have me anymore? Here's the image. You are not a paper crane folded into shapes to impress the viewer. You are the storm, the tide, the flame, untamed, unapologetic, unmoved by approval. When you belong to yourself, you stop trying to belong where you don't fit. Lesson 14. Don't chase closure, create it. You don't need their permission to heal. You wait for a message, for an apology, for a final conversation that will make it all make sense. You replay moments, overthink words, Try to solve a puzzle that was never yours to finish, and every time they stay silent, you stay stuck. But here's what Stoicism reminds us. Closure isn't something they give, it's something you claim. Because chasing closure is chasing validation, the need to be seen, heard, understood. By someone who's already shown you they're not capable of any of it. The Stoics believed in radical acceptance. Accept the facts, accept the silence. Accept that your worth was never dependent on their explanation. So here's your Stoic shift. Instead of asking, why did they do this? Ask, what did this teach me about what I'll never accept again? That's your closure, not their words, not their return, but your clarity. Here's the image. You are not a book waiting for someone else to write the final chapter. You are the author, and today you close this page, not because it makes sense, but because peace matters more than understanding. Let it end, not because you got answers, but because you got tired of asking for them. You've just heard 14 lessons, not tricks, not hacks, but truth. From the quiet core of Stoic wisdom that's still whispering through time. You do not control what others do, but you do control what you allow, what you repeat, and what you walk away from. These lessons weren't about being colder. They're about being clearer, stronger, less reactive, more intentional, because true confidence isn't loud. It's not about winning people over. It's about walking with such inner peace that even rejection can't take anything from you. So here's what I ask you now. Which of these 14 lessons hit you the hardest? Drop it in the comments, not just for me, but for yourself. Claim the one you'll start living today. And if this helped you remember who you are, join us, subscribe, not just to a channel, but to a life that puts your soul first. And when you're ready, the next video will show you how to build inner peace, even in the middle of emotional chaos. Thanks for growing stronger, wiser, and a little more stoic today.